I killed my father on his 50th birthday, and I did it with a smile on my face. I didn't say those words out loud. Not in court, not to a priest, not in confession. I whispered them to myself, staring into the bathroom mirror while laughter, music, and clinking glasses echoed from the living room behind me. Out there, my father, James Carter, was celebrating his milestone birthday, and I, his only son, Michael, stood holding a razor, thinking about how it all began. I was 16 the first time I realized our family wasn't what it seemed. We lived in a Chicago suburb, in a house with a manicured lawn, 2 cars in the garage, and framed photos on the walls where everyone smiled. My father was a successful lawyer. My mother taught literature at the local high school. I played basketball, got good grades, dreamed of college. Everything looked perfect. But behind that picture lay darkness. It surfaced at night, when Mom came home from evening classes with a bruise under her eye, claiming she'd tripped. When Dad raised his voice so loudly that neighbors stopped glancing our way and simply shut their windows. When I, a teenager, stood in their bedroom doorway and heard him whisper, "You're nothing without me. You can't even breathe right." And she stayed silent, always silent. I thought that was normal, that families were like this, that love meant enduring. Until the night I saw him slam her head against the wall. Not in rage, but with cold calculation. She collapsed. I rushed to her side, and he stood over us and said, "If you say a word, I'll destroy you both." I was 17. I said nothing, but something inside me died that night, and in its place grew something quiet, careful, and relentless. One day he would pay. Mom left a year later. She packed her things in the dead of night while he slept and took me with her. We moved to another state, changed our last name, started over. She waited tables. I worked at an auto shop. We rarely spoke of the past, but I saw how she flinched at loud noises, avoided mirrors, cried herself to sleep, thinking I couldn't hear. She died at 38. Cancer. Fast, brutal, no chance. Doctors said chronic stress accelerated the disease. I knew who was to blame, and him? He carried on as if nothing happened. He remarried, had a daughter, my half-sister, became a partner at a prestigious law firm. His face appeared in local news, charity galas, interviews, a self-made man who built success from nothing. No one knew the monster behind that smile, the man who shattered 2 lives, my mother's and mine. I watched him, for years, through social media, newspapers, old acquaintances. I never wanted revenge in the literal sense, no knife, no gun. I wanted him to understand, to feel the same helplessness, the same fear, the same pain he inflicted on us. I wanted his perfect world to crumble the way ours did. After Mom's death, I enrolled in college, not law like him, but economics. Graduated with honors. Landed a job at an investment firm. Over 10 years, I became a respected financial analyst. No one knew that behind my calm demeanor and tailored suits lived a man who replayed every night his mother cried in the bathroom, hiding bruises under foundation. And then the moment came. I learned he planned to sell the family home, the very house where it all began. The buyer was a major real estate developer. The deal, $2 million. To him, it was another victory, another step toward his perfect life. But I knew something he didn't. The house sat on land that had belonged to the city for decades. His father, my grandfather, had acquired it by mistake in the 1970s during a highway boundary redraw. Officially, the land was never transferred to private ownership. The deed was forged. Easy, discreet. For a lawyer like him, it took just a few hours and a couple of bribes. I found the archival records, spent months gathering evidence, hired a private investigator, paid a retired city clerk for access to old maps. It was all there. The house he was selling for $2 million stood on municipal land, which meant one thing: the sale was void. Worse, he could be prosecuted for fraud. But I didn't go to court, didn't file a complaint. I chose another path. I got hired at the buyer's company as a risk consultant. No one knew who I really was. I was just Michael Edwards, a due diligence specialist. And when the deal reached the document review stage, I accidentally uncovered the discrepancy. First a hint, then official records, then the archival maps. The buyer backed out. Not just backed out, he sued James Carter for concealment. The media picked it up. Prominent attorney tried to sell city-owned land. His reputation collapsed. His firm suspended him. His wife filed for divorce. His daughter, my half-sister, was 15. She didn't understand what was happening, but I saw her Instagram photos. Confused, frightened. I felt no joy, only coldness. But it wasn't enough. I knew he had a homeowner's insurance policy, comprehensive, covering legal disputes. He planned to use it to pay his legal fees. But I'd worked in insurance too. I knew how policies worked, and I knew that if intent could be proven, the insurer would deny the claim. I contacted their internal auditor, anonymous, sent copies of the forged documents his father had filed in the 70s. The auditor launched an investigation. Within a month, the insurer voided the policy. James was left alone with debts and lawsuits. His house was seized. He moved into a rented apartment. His new wife left, taking their child. He lost his law license. His name vanished from the press except in bankruptcy columns. Then I made my final move. I wrote him a letter. No signature. Just a sheet of paper in an envelope with no return address. You thought you could break people and walk away unscathed. You thought your power was eternal. But every blow you dealt her, every humiliation, every word, it all remained. And it came back to you. This isn't revenge. It's justice. And it came from the one place you never expected. The son you thought was weak. I mailed it a week before his birthday. And on his actual birthday, I showed up at the party. Yes, I went, because I knew he'd never invite me willingly. But I arrived as an old friend of his brother's. No one recognized me. I changed. Short hair, glasses, confident stride. I smiled, drank champagne, chatted with guests. And he looked hollow, fear in his eyes. He sensed someone was watching. He scanned the crowd for an enemy, but never knew the enemy stood beside him, raising a toast to his health. When he gave his shaky, fake smiling speech, I thought, this is your last celebration. And I left before the cake was cut. 3 days later, he killed himself. No note, just an empty whiskey bottle and a disconnected phone. Police closed it as suicide. No one linked it to the letter. No one knew his son was behind it. I didn't feel relief. No joy, no guilt. Just emptiness. Because revenge isn't victory. It's proof the pain never left. That you never truly let go. I attended his funeral. Stood at the back of the church in the shadows. His daughter, my sister, cried by the casket. His wife stayed silent. His brother gave a eulogy about recent hardships. And a man who always sought the best. I stepped outside, got in my car, and for the first time in years I cried. Not for him, for her, for my mother who never saw justice, for the boy who believed his father loved him, for the girl now growing up fatherless just as I had. Revenge didn't give me back my past. It only proved one thing. I didn't become him. I didn't strike, didn't shout. Didn't break someone else's life for my gain. I simply let the truth do its work. And sometimes that's enough. But sometimes it never is. Now I live in Portland, work as a consultant. I have no family, no close ties, only memories and silence. Sometimes I wander into a bookstore and pick up a collection of Emily Dickinson, my mother's favorite poet. I read the lines she once read to me as a child. If pain comes, know it does not lie. If pain leaves, know it does not deceive. I don't know if my pain is gone, but I know this. I won't let it control me anymore, because real revenge isn't destroying your enemy. to surviving and staying human.